A spot on the telly brings a singer-songwriter into the spotlight. He's engineering a career as an artist inspired by oceans, lakes and the movement of the water. And the iconic voice of one generation lives on in the next. You're listening to Encore on Midlands 103 with the best of what's happening in the arts in Laois, Offaly and Westmeath. It's Claire O'Brien here. Encore at midlands103.com is the email address. You're always welcome to get in touch. And 083 30 10 103 is the Lamb Brothers Midlands 103 text line. And if there is a theme to tonight's programme, it is invention, reinvention and the absolute sheer joy of creativity and performance. Brian Killeen was beamed into our sitting rooms last week with Daithí O'Shea by his side when he performed in Rosenalice, and his phone lines have been lighting up ever since, and he'll be chatting to us a little bit later on about what that experience was like and about his really quirky and interesting evolution as a musician. Cathal Gallagher is an artist who needs no introduction to the people of Athlone, and by day he's an engineer at the moment, and in his spare time he is painting really beautiful lyrical works featuring lakes and seas and waterways, and they are just an emerald joy to behold, and we'll be chatting to him about that and the inspiration that he gets from nature and the joy that he gets from his work. And Phelim Drew is a man who needs absolutely no introduction to a Midlands audience because he is the son of the late Ronnie Drew, and he brings the story of Ronnie Drew. Every now and again he tours it around the country, and it's just such an iconic story. There's such great songs, and Phelim has such a wonderful voice, and he'll be chatting to us about that work and about bringing Ronnie to life, and about the audience that still loves to hear the songs and to hear the stories of Ronnie Drew. As we always do at this point in the programme, we bring you some brand new music, new Irish music, and the two choices that I have for you this evening are probably could not be more different. One from a songwriter, a singer who's coming to the end of her career by choice. She's doing her farewell tour, and that is Mary Black. And the song that I'm going to bring you now tonight from her is called Light of Day, and it just so features all the things that we love about Mary Black's voice. And the other voice you're going to hear is one that you'll have heard maybe in a different context. It's Harry Hudson Taylor, and he'll be familiar to you from Hudson Taylor, the band. So the two songs we're going to start with, we will start tonight with Mary Black and The Light of Day, and then it will be Harry Hudson Taylor with Hiding from Nature. You're listening to Encore this evening on Midlands 103. That's Harry Hudson Taylor, half of the duo Hudson Taylor, which he played in with his brother Alfie, and there he is on his own, Hiding from Nature. And before that, the unmistakable voice of Mary Black. Have you ever seen a painting that even in a photograph, you just want to reach out and touch it, put your hand in the water, because it just looks like it's so vibrant and real and so vivid? Well, we're going to be talking to the artist behind some of that work, an artist from Athlone. He'll be chatting to me after the break here. You're listening to Encore on Midlands 103. Midlands 103. Still to come on the programme this evening, I'll be chatting to Phelim Drew, who brings the story of Ronnie Drew to the Dunamace Theatre tomorrow night. But for now, we are going to Athlone to lose ourselves in the artwork of Cathal Gallagher, who creates scenes around water, the movement of water that just make you want to jump right in. And Cathal joins me on the line now. Cathal, you're welcome, very welcome to Encore this evening. How are you doing?
How are you doing, Claire? Thanks very much.
I haven't been to see the exhibition yet. I'll hopefully get a chance to see it on Tuesday. Yeah. But the images, even at 2 or 3 removes, are just so vivid and real. And they really do give that sense of wanting to put your hand in the water to see how deep it is. Talk to me about, before we talk about the particular images, bring us up to speed on your own artistic background, because you're currently working as an engineer, but you were professionally working as an artist before that.
Yeah, that's right. A long time ago, I was, like a lot of people, I was always into art. When I was younger, And back in the 90s, in the early 90s, I went to college as the Ballyfermot School of Art of Animation. So I was very much into the animation side of it and illustration, and that's where I wanted to go with it. So I lived up in Dublin for a few years doing that kind of thing. And, it was while I was there, that's the thing I was interested in. But after a while, I thought, having been around so many of these animators and illustrators, even though I was doing okay, I kind of got the feeling, it's not really for me, that kind of thing. So I made the decision to go back to college as a mature student at the time. When I think about it, I think I was only 25 or something like that. But I quit. I gave up art completely till about 2008, in around there. And it was because I was doing a lot of traveling up and down the country and seeing all these beautiful sceneries. I came back from Kerry one of those days, and I just decided to do a still life, or not a still life, a landscape, and really enjoyed it. And the flow of the bit of talent that I had was still there, and it came out in the landscapes. So I kind of took to it big time, and I was still working, and of course, but that's how I got started in the landscape type of thing. And it wasn't even just trying to do a nice painting. It's when you go to these places like Kerry or Achill Island or Clifton or Connemara or Donegal or wherever, and you're seeing all these beautiful places. It's kind of the way I work is I want to try and get a sense of the sense of being there, on the actual canvas itself. Yeah. And it's not just about trying to recreate something. It's kind of you want to get that feeling through. I suppose if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and there's something so interesting about the use of colour when you talk about your background in illustration and animation. There's something that's just a little bit, I suppose, hyper is probably the wrong word for it, but a little bit extended in the colour that you use that makes things seem just a little bit more real.
Yeah.
That's obviously a deliberate move on your part.
Well, it kind of is, isn't it? Yeah, it is a bit, because I suppose I like those vivid colours, and maybe that's what I see when I see these things. I'm still drawn to other paintings that are less colourful myself, to look at. But it's just once I get started, it comes out like that. And I do try, and actually, sometimes I'd be trying to do a hyper realism effort, but the colour just blasts out. Those paintings in the village in Athlone, they were the exhibition. I was calling it the Emerald Wave because I thought it was a funny thing to call it at the time. Green is not my go-to colour. Yeah. I'd be more of kind of blue or violet mixed with white and even black. And I was standing back when they asked me to do the exhibition. I was standing back looking at a bunch of paintings. And what struck me was, God almighty, look at all the green that's in all these paintings. And I didn't, just, I'd pick it up. And it makes sense, if you're living in Ireland, you're going to see lots of green everywhere. Yeah. Even in the sea and all that. So that was an accident. And it is kind of vivid the way it comes out. I did get criticised before, not criticised, but slagged off kind of that I'm ignoring the Irish weather.
I think that's very unfair. Now I'm looking at Riverlight, which is just waves. And there is
kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, and it makes you feel like you're on a boat, whether it's on the Shannon or whether it's by the sea. It's in the sea somewhere on one of those glorious Irish days where it is as if the waves are tipped with diamonds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is one of those there. It's a smaller one. I think it's called Emerald Wave or something. But there's a blue sky and the emerald underneath it. That is actually Connemara last year, and I went right out in the water to get that shot. And it's just we were on a beach. I think it was Inishboffin or one of these places. I think it was on an island we were at the time, And just by pure chance that we had the weather that we had, and you could see that it was actually emeralds underneath the water. It's totally clear, an emerald. Now it won't be this weekend, but it's the colours are there, and sometimes even though you're recreating a photograph, like I have to work primarily from photographs, and my imagination. The actual art part of it is actually going to find the image, because I know what I'm looking for. And I know I've driven everybody crazy when we all go off. It's off out to the waves, and it has to be a certain light and stop the car. I've had more paintings done by one time I was driving through Achill Island, and it was after a rain. I could see the sparkling light over the waves coming in on one of those islands. So pulled one of those coastlines. Mm-hmm. So we pulled in, and you get those images, and they're worth their weight in gold. They're beautiful to see. The sparkling of the light coming in over the sunset, and they're popular paintings too. So.
Well, they are, because that's the best of us. When we think back to the times that we've been to the seaside, we don't remember the grey, and we don't remember the mud and the sand and the sandwiches. What we remember are those magical moments where the light hits the water, or the light hits the rocks, and there is something hyper real and hyper memorable about those moments, and they're the ones we want to keep.
Absolutely, yeah. So.
Is it challenging then to work from a photograph to try and make that happen? To bring that moment back.
It can be. It can be challenging, and some of the paintings are difficult to paint. And you'd be lucky, and you could get one where straight away it's going to be, this one's going to work out, and I'm going to be painting by the numbers. But then to get it right, sometimes. It's going to be a challenge, and, the kitchen chair might get an old kick every now and then, and you have to go back at it. And, I've often been going to bed at the dead of night, and I pass by a painting, and I go, oh no, I can't get up in the morning and look at that. So I'd actually start painting again. So it's, people don't see those kind of things, the temperamental artist.
Yeah.
But it's it can be very challenging, but it's rewarding when you see them. And I've a lot of these. I've my own paintings on the wall here, and I like to look at them. And I'm taken back to the moments of when I was there, which is it works. If I couldn't look at them, I can't expect anyone else to look at them.
Well, this is it. You have to be able to live. You have to be able to live with them yourself too, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
There's a gorgeous piece there of a girl picking pebbles in an emerald green coat, as it happens. Tell us a little bit about that, and about picking out those individual pebbles in this yellow brick road, golden stone road that spreads out behind her.
Yeah. Well, that one is, I painted versions of that many times. And that one was, we were on a family trip to Waterville, and we stopped off and went for a walk before we even went around to the house we were staying in. And the kids were all very small at the time. And that was my niece, Shauna. She was running ahead and picking these pebbles. So I got a couple of photographs of her and my own son and my nephews and all that. And that one, it just captured a kind of an image, like, which was perfect for the time. These lovely pebbles, that lovely beach behind us, the beach at Waterville, I paint a good lot.
Yeah.
And that's just, I guess it was just one of those photographs that worked out. You get them every now and then if you pick a moment, and they're pure by accident. If you tried to get somebody to pose for them, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a bit of creativity in it as well, but it was just one of those lucky things.
Yeah.
And like as I say, that was very popular. Not that particular version, but that day I took photographs of the kids when they were out, good bit out, not more than shadows, and they were hugely popular. A lot of them sold, thank God. So that was lucky enough. But
Yeah.
that was even just from tipping down to the beach before we went back, because it's a long drive down, and it just worked out.
Well, may you have many more trips to the beach and many more fabulous pieces of work. And that exhibition continues for the next little while at the Village at Burgess in Athlone. Cathal, thanks so much for talking to us. I really do appreciate you chatting to us this evening. And we'll chat to you again soon. Thanks so much.
That's great, Claire. Thanks very much. Thank you.
And Cathal has a website as well. It's cahallgallagherart.com, and you can wish you were at the seaside multiple times over if you can't get to Athlone. But if you can, it's at the Village at Burgess for the foreseeable future. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it will be to talk to Brian Killeen, who has been having a great week altogether. Midlands 103. And you're very welcome back to Encore. Phelim Drew will be with us a little bit later on in the programme, talking about his experience, I suppose, of bringing the songs and the stories and the voice of his dad, the late Phelim Drew, to life. But somebody who is living his best life in the last week is certainly Brian Killeen from Abbey Leaks. He's a singer-songwriter, and last Wednesday he was broadcast into our sitting rooms and our kitchens and our homes when he was on the Today Show with Daithí O'Shea. He performed in Rosenalice, and it's just a wonderful feel-good story, I think, about somebody who has had a really terrifically positive experience, and who's the joy of the music really came across. And I know his phone has been lighting up ever since. So I was chatting to him a little bit earlier on, just about really, what a wonderful week he has had since that broadcast.
A little more, yeah. Yeah, it was great. It's so nice to be asked to do it. I don't think I wouldn't be good at those very intimate performances. I'm so used to pubs and wedding settings, all that kind of stuff. But Anne-Marie Kelly, she asked me to do it, and I said yes. It was terrifying, but it was nice to be asked.
Yeah, well, Anne-Marie is such a champion for the arts in County Laois, isn't she?
Oh, she's great.
Yeah,
she's the best in the world.
So how did it happen? You rattled up to the to Rosenalice, and how did that happen for you?
So I rocked up, and they were all in the pub, kind of setting up and running through some stuff. So I did my sound check and had a minor panic attack, and then I went in, and they did it all there, and then Daithí was lovely. Everyone on the crew was lovely. They're all very welcoming,
And you describe yourself as the person who loves his music but always wanted to be in the background. You were very definitely not in the background closing out the programme with Daithí O'Shea.
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I said it on the show, I picked up a guitar when I was 8 years old, and I fell in love with guitar players, like blues players and, rock and roll, that kind of stuff. And so I was obsessed with the guy who came out, did a quick solo on the guitar for 30 seconds, and then just, went back to his place on the stage. So that's what I always wanted to be.
So you melted back. You like the idea of melting back into the background, having a brief moment and disappearing.
Little brief moment, and then just everyone else can take on the, all the way to the show. But I just I fell in love with songwriting, and I struggled to stop doing it since.
You had a moment in your musical career, which has many years to run still, but you did have a moment where you thought about maybe being more front and centre, doing the big gigs, doing the big stadiums, the big locations, the Glastonburys of the world, and then decided to park that.
Yeah, well, I think every young lad wants that. Every young lad wants to headline a big stage and do all that kind of cool stuff. But I'm such an introvert. it's such a good dream to have, but then when the practice comes into play, like you're like, Jesus Christ, it's terrifying. Why would I want to do this every day?
Yeah.
So, well, you know, I have a good job now, and I love music for, you know, what it is, just kind of sitting down with a guitar, writing, and enjoying it, rather than trying to make a living out of it. But if it ever happens, God bless, that'd be great.
Tell us about the van.
Oh, the van, yeah, geez. That was, so I had this, I was, I don't know, 20, 25 maybe. Things were going all right, and I bought myself a nice car. I felt like, yeah, I'm doing good here. I have a really nice car. And then about a year later, I was like, right, things have changed. I need a place to work and write. So I'm going to sell my really nice car. I'm going to buy a van, a van that's way too big to actually, you know, drive every day. And I'm going to kit it out to be a little mobile studio. So I got my van. I hyper-focused and hyper-fixated on van renovations and doing all that kind of stuff. And I turned it into a studio, a very dangerous studio, because I'm not an electrician or a carpenter. But it was working. And I actually worked in that van for 2 years as a session musician, just singing other people's songs and doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
it
that's
kind of worked.
Wonderful commitment to your art, to get rid of the car and to invest in having your own materials, your own space, a room of your own, as Virginia Woolf would have called it for a writer. But that gave you complete control.
Oh yeah, commitment's a good way to say it. A lot of people would call me mad, you know. But yeah, no, it was great, and it turned out surprisingly well. Like, it was very well treated with sound, and it was a surprise to me, you know. I mean, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a carpenter. I'm not an electrician. I'm barely a musician. So it was very interesting to try and make a studio out of a van in a month, and somehow make a living out of it for a couple of years, you know.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it sounds like a journey that has had lots of twists and turns, but is still very much on an upward trajectory. I imagine, with all those phone calls and all the love you've been feeling since everybody and their granny saw you on the telly, you must have been really getting some fabulously positive feedback.
Oh yeah, blown away. Jesus, I mean, far too kind if you ask me. But everyone's been so lovely. I didn't tell a lot of people about it. I didn't tell anyone about it, because when I first heard it was going to be a live performance, I was, you know, breaking it a little bit. So I didn't tell anyone. But the reception from it has been, you know, overwhelmingly positive. Everyone is so kind and so nice. And
people who have heard you and who would like to hear you can catch up with you this weekend and hear some of the covers that you do, but hear also some of your own music with yourself and Fiacre will be performing.
Absolutely, yeah. Be in Ballerone and Whelan's, 10 p.m. sharp on Saturday the 4th, and we'll play all your favourites. All your favourites, and a few of your own, I presume. I'll play a few of my own. if they'd like to listen, of course. Of course, they'd like to listen. Well, that's on Saturday the 4th of April in Whelan's in Ballerone, and you're all over Instagram and YouTube, and your Brian and Figs it's a great name for a duo. Yeah. I presume that's a nickname that you've come along with for Fiacre over the years. Yeah, well, he actually had that name before I even met him, but I've known him for 10 years now. We've been playing music for 10 years together. But Brian and Figs, it was for lack of actually trying to think of a band name that we just said, no, we'll just call each other Brian and Figs. Just be done with it. And that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much for talking to us. I hope lots of good things come from it, and that the music keeps on coming, whether it's in vans or in pubs or in Rosenallis or in Ballyrone or wherever you happen to be, that the songs can keep coming. Yeah, I hope so too.
We all hope that indeed. And Brian and Figs is Fiachra Murphy, are in Ballyroan tomorrow night. On Saturday night, Saturday night. Tomorrow night in the Dunamaze Theatre, it is the turn of Phelim Drew. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have a little bit of music featuring Phelim with Francie Conway. Stay with us. You're listening to Encore on Midlands 103. And that is the Irish Rover. It features Francie Conway, Phelim Drew, Roy Buckley and a score of other performers. And it is a nice lead into having Phelim Drew on the line with us. Phelim, you're very welcome back to Encore. It's a while since we had you on.
Indeed. And Claire, thanks a million for having me. It's great.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. It is hard to believe that it is 16 years since your dad, the legendary Ronnie Drew, passed away.
Yeah, it's even longer, I think. I think it'll be 18 years in August.
Oh, 8. That's my sums. It was 2008. Yeah, that's my terrible sums.
Yeah. No, that's my job. No, it's he'll have passed away 18 years. Yeah, in August. So it's hard to believe. I mean, I'm sure plenty of the listeners can identify with that. You know, that it's when somebody so close to you, passes away. The time just, where does it go?
Yeah,
it's unreal.
And yet, we just played that song there, the Irish Rover, which is one I suppose that a lot of people would connect with your dad from the time that he did that with Shane McGowan. When you listen to that, and when you listen to this particular performance over there that we had from Francie Conway's The Wild Atlantic Way, what goes through your mind?
Well, I enjoy listening to Ronnie singing, and it wasn't always like that because for a few years after he died, I just found it too difficult. But then a certain amount of time elapsed, and I started revisiting, the Dubliners' early albums, and I just got, I just thought, well, this is wonderful recordings, and there's such a wealth of songs that they uncovered and gave a new lease of life to, and the Irish Rover is one of those.
Yeah.
And it was a marriage made in, well, heaven or hell, depends on how you look at it. But the Dubliners and the Pogues, I mean, they were the Pogues, I think, were very open about the Dubliners as being a big influence on them. And my dad and Shane got on very well because they both had a love of Paddy Kavanagh, and they had a lot to talk about. But I just remember the chaos around the two groups getting together, because I would accompany my dad on to RTE and that when they were making appearances on the Late Late Show.
Yeah.
And so my mother kind of sent me along to chaperone my father, make sure he didn't get into any trouble.
And it's a few years since you started with this particular show, which is the Remembering Ronnie with Phelim Drew in Songs and Stories.
Yeah, and I'm conscious of that,
Yeah. But I wonder,
I'm not sure how long more I'm going to be doing it. So these gigs feel kind of special, and I'm delighted to be in Dunamaze tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to it.
I wonder as you get older and you listen to those songs and you go back on those stories, do you understand? And you get do you understand your dad differently? Do you understand yourself differently? As you spend time with the show and with the songs and your sense of yourself as a performer.
I mean, one question that I get asked so often is, what was it like to be, to grow up as the son of somebody like my father? And, and it's my opportunity to kind of to take a situation and to just tell the stories around what life was like at home. My father was very, very funny. There was a neighbour of ours, and she didn't start drinking until quite late in life, and when she did, she took it up with both hands. And Ronnie used to say about her that she was like a party walking around looking for somewhere to happen. And, we had another neighbour who lived beside my grandmother, and she was a very very sort of Anglo type, and wore sort of tweed suits and, spoke in a very masculine voice. And Ronnie used to call her Henry VIII in drag. And we just had a great street of neighbours growing up in the 70s. And, a bit like now, with all this craziness going on and, between America and the Middle East. And, there was a huge fuel shortage. So, people were really stretched, and there was a huge oil shortage. And, I just remember people, siphoning petrol out of each other's cars in the dead of night. And we had a neighbour who became was made redundant, and he was an electrical engineer, and he wired up a cable that went into our house and fed off our electricity. And subsequently, my father and this man's wife had a stand-up row in the pub over politics. And she said to him, Ronnie Drew, if you ever speak to me like that again, I will get my husband to disconnect us from your house. So, it's those stories and stories about the Dubliners. And, you could do a whole show of Barney McKenna stories.
Yeah, I suppose.
Barney had such a wonderful view of the world, and such a way with words. That it was he was just a font of these anecdotes, and it's lovely to be able to share them with an audience and sort of to sing the songs in the context of the stories.
Yeah.
It's we'll be there tomorrow night at 8:00. It's dunamaze.ie. So we'd love to see more people come down tomorrow night.
Well, I think Good Friday night is a great night for an event like this, isn't it? Traditionally, Good Friday has been a very dry night in all kinds of ways for entertainment. But this, as a way of celebrating song and story and I suppose such a huge part of our cultural heritage, it's a great way to spend Good Friday night. I think Ronnie probably would approve, would he?
I think he would wholeheartedly, Claire. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
And I hope you have a wonderful evening tomorrow night in Portlaoise. You'll be very welcome. You'll be very welcome. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you again soon. That is Phelim Drew, and the stories are fantastic, aren't they? It's hard to imagine what it must have been like to be a young fella going along to events, something that was as iconic in its day as the Late Late Show, to chaperone your dad and to keep him out of trouble, and to be told by your mum to keep your dad out of trouble at that age. And I suppose also it's fascinating because Phelim indeed has had his own very, very successful acting career in all the work that he has done and all the skill that he can bring to telling those stories. It's going to be a wonderful night out and a wonderful way indeed to spend Good Friday night. That is it from me for this Thursday night. The fabulous Zoe will be in this seat next week, and she'll have more of what's happening in the arts in Laois, Offaly and Westmeath for you. Encore at midlands103.com is the email address. Always please use it to get in touch with either of us. We're delighted to hear from you. Great Joe Cooney is in the building. I saw him pottering around there. He'll be here after the news at 8:00 with the best of Irish and American country music. And until I'm in touch with you again in a fortnight, take care of yourself. Good night.